This time bringing you a quick update on some clarifications Larian has provided via Community Update 21, following their large release of information via their final panel from Hell. And in many ways, this community update is simply a rehashing of a lot of that material, so I'm not going to cover it in its entirety, but rather the things that are new information or they clarify some points that I thought were very important to get out there for people to know. But first and most importantly, I would say, is that they have clarified the situation around the 72 hours of early access on the PC version, with basically saying that there won't be any. August 3rd is the hard release date for PC, and that the 72-hour early access is purely for PS5, which will give them a head start on September 3rd. And they also wanted to make sure people knew that the early access save files will not transfer to the full version, which we already knew. And while certainly I would say disappointing news, it was a clarification that was necessary because previously that's just not what was said at all, or at least not how it was presented. But ultimately, with us getting the game almost a full month early, it won't be that big of a deal. Now, moving on from there, covering the rest of this update, again, just focusing on new information. We got a little bit more info on multi-classing specifically, though not quite as much as I was expecting. Recently, they gave an interview that mentioned some changes to multi-classing in terms of the prerequisites required and potentially some changes to the way spellcasting worked. But in this community update, the only thing that they've confirmed is that the attribute requirement of having 13 and something to multi-class into a relevant class is being removed, so you don't have to worry about that. And as for any further changes, we'll have to wait and see. Then they went on to talk a little bit about the hirelings or the mercenaries at your service, which I would say is another important clarification. They mentioned that these characters would be customizable, but here in this update, they seem to mention that they are very specifically going to have their own name, appearance, and race and everything, but that you'll be able to respec them and customize them as you see fit. But even here, they have a hireling for each class, and they say they can be respec, so I'm not sure if you can respec each hireling to any class, or if they are locked to at least one specific class. Either way though, we now know that these are set characters with set names, who will simply fill party roles if you don't like any of the other origin characters or companions. Next up, they confirmed that there will be alchemy in the game, allowing you to brew various potions, alongside poisons or oils to help you out in combat. A nice feature that adds a little bit to the game, but overall not really an overwhelming thing by any means. Then they gave an update to how multiplayer was going to work, stating that players can join at the start of a campaign or during an ongoing game, but that each of the origin characters can be chosen only once for, I would assume, obvious reasons, but you can still of course make custom characters. Players will share pretty much everything as far as in-game information goes, like journal notes, recipes, that kind of stuff, as well as their inventory, but there is an option to lock your inventory off from each other if you want. Party-wide inspiration points, which allow you to re-roll things, will also be shared. And when it comes to participating in conversations that are started by another player, you can vote on which dialogue option you'd like people to take and listen in at the same time so you can see what's going on. Some scenes, however, like the romance scenes, are private, if you will, in multiplayer, meaning that only the participating person will see them. And that's pretty much everything they said, so some important things to note about how multiplayer will work there. And last but not least, they also wanted with this update to let you know that while there is explicit content in the game, such as nudity, you can turn it off via the options that will basically cover everything up, which is going to allow people to stream the game a bit more freely, to be sure, but also if you just don't want to deal with certain parts of that, so to speak. But either way, a lot of the more detailed scenes, let's say, can be censored with in-game options. That said, that's most of the important stuff to know about this update. Again, there was more to the update. This was just the stuff that was new information. Everything else, while certainly not unwelcome information, is just stuff I've already covered or was mentioned at their panel from Hell, so I didn't feel the need to reiterate it. That said, certainly hope you enjoyed this further look at Baldur's Gate 3 and what will likely be the final community update before launch, according to Larian themselves, not just me, which means this will likely be the last bit of official information we get about the game ahead of time before I just have the game in my own hands to talk about it with some more first-hand experience. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube jazz. But regardless of any of that, truly, just thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. May you